On Ticker, this is Import Export with Christoffelsz.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for watching Import Export here on Ticker TV. I'm your host, Christoffelsz. Today our show's all around data security and leveraging technology to make sure that you're getting the most out of your international trade, supply chain business, but also to prepare for, as we come out of this COVID-19 situation, so you're able to leverage technology to make sure that it's performing the best for you and get the most out of it for your business. So we've got a range of great guests for you lined up on the show, and we kick it off with Manish Desai from ImpexDocs joining us from Sydney. Hi Manish, how are you?
Hi Lawrence, how are you? Good morning to you and to your viewers.
Good morning Manish. Before we kick in, please tell us an overview of ImpexDocs and the background to that, Manish.
ImpexDocs is an export solutions and services company. We assist exporters to streamline their export operations by providing an online system where it's a cloud-based system which can streamline the export operations of a company and get them all the order management, regulatory compliance and shipping information all in one place. In addition, we also have an outsourced documentation service. For companies who do not want to do it themselves, they can outsource the work to our experienced team to obtain all the regulatory documents and compliances for their exports.
Great.
We've been doing this the last close to around 15 years, and we have 600 plus clients in our books with dealing with different industry verticals like grain, horticulture, wool, skin, hides, dairy, meat, etc.
Fantastic. Yeah. And we're really delighted to have you on, Manish, because all these situations that exporters have found themselves in over the last 2 months or so, they've all had to send their staff home. They need to be able to work and plug into their documentation systems, their platforms. Most of them are typical, hard configured mainframes in an office environment. So the fact that ImpexDocs has got cloud-based solutions, that's a huge point of difference, that customers who are already working with you, they can actually still maintain the normal workflow even if they're working remotely. So I wanted to ask you, with your range of customers, but also overall the sector as exporters, what's been the impact of this COVID-19 on export documentation and proper processes? As I said, the typical cluster of staff in an office trying to process this has all been dispersed.
That's very true, Lawrence. Logistics and international trade are generally essential services, and customers have been, in a way, quite busy over the last few months. The biggest challenge has been in executing shipments, executing the orders. Transport delays, port closures, reduced flight schedules really don't help. So even though they have orders from overseas, they're not able to get the goods across. For people who do not use online systems, there are connectivity issues with respect to VPN and remote access. The current scenario is very difficult to even send a courier out. So it was really challenging to some of our clients, especially those who don't have a system. But using systems such as ours, like ImpexDocs, a cloud-based system, where we electronically link to various regulatory government agencies and also streamline the export operations of a company, is been all right. Clients who do not have a system are struggling and have not been very lucky. Juggling different spreadsheets, different systems, and just able to even deal with couriers of multiple parties has been very difficult to our clients. Yeah. So it's really depending on what you had earlier. Is the big thing which is really impacting our clients. We are really assisting a lot of clients here to come on board, but some of the clients are really struggling.
Well, I think, Manish, the other real point of difference that I see, and I've done a lot of exports over my career, and I know firsthand how important accuracy of documentation makes or breaks not just the shipment success and timelines, but also the cost. So there's a major impact of cost if there's inaccurate documentation. And what, not just in commercial invoices, packing decks, and let's say the standard set of documentation, but increasingly now, companies now have to navigate free trade agreements, certificates of origin, phytosanitary certificates. There's a whole range of more complex documentation requirements that, again, if you take away the normal work environment where you've got support of your peers and maybe can go and check a file or something like that, you're really navigating blind without having a lot of your tools at your disposal. So tell us a little bit about how ImpexDocs does things differently when it comes to navigating the whole kit and caboodle of documentation that's always getting increasingly more complicated.
Absolutely. This is a very complex area. Getting a tariff code wrong on a document can lead to payment of higher import duties by the buyer on the other side. Or even getting the goods description wrong, or some details like labeling wrong on a document, can actually end up in the cargo being rejected on the other side. This is a lot of impact, and this is a very complex area. Increasingly, we're finding a lot of exporters calling upon us to assist them. Where outsourced team, a virtual outsourced export department team can help them, as we have the experience in dealing in such cases, and been doing this for many years for many different industries and clients. The other option is to use our cloud-based system to do everything themselves, where we integrate to the various regulatory agencies. We have some checks and balances in our application, which helps them to avoid those mistakes. And sometimes the mistakes could be a simple human error, where data at one end is not flowing through the other end, and that is very common in doing a manual process. But in a system which is more integrated, having a single database and a data source, you normally enter data once, and it all flows through all the documents. So chances of such errors are reduced.
Well, Manish, I mean, the timeliness of you being on the show today couldn't be more, relevant. When you look at what's going on with China, the barley threats, the meat abattoirs, their claim is that the documentation is the problem. Their claim is the certification issues are the things that they're constantly having dramas with. So, your process, your system that you're talking about, directly goes to the heart of these major challenges that barley operators, meat abattoirs all around the country are facing with China. So if you put in the details that you commercially invoice, container numbers, batch numbers, seal numbers, other certificate details, letters of credit, banking details, all those things get filtered right across that set of documentation automatically. So therefore, as an exporter, you can significantly minimize any chance of Chinese whispers, if you like, where the documentation gets slightly misaccurate or inaccurate, I should say, as it filters through the whole set of documentation.
That's absolutely correct. From a few hours, we can bring down the whole processing to a few minutes, and that also reduces the whole error rate, and also the throughput increases. You can get more documents out, and getting more documents out there can help you to get paid faster also. There's a whole follow-on effect on cash flow and operation efficiency.
And what about things like, we're talking about efficiency, productivity, how to leverage technology to be better and more successful. So you talked about the time saving. Those are huge and enormous, especially trying to retype or re-enter data. That's a no-brainer. What about things like interfacing, integrating with other service providers or banks or carriers, border control? Do you guys do that as well?
Absolutely. So there are 4 key components of our integrated system. There's the order management, where you get the order from the overseas and you confirm that you can make or buy or things like that. Then you have the compliance, which is the regulatory authorities, the Chambers of Commerce, the Australian Customs, the Department of Agriculture, and the port authorities. Then you have the bookings, which is dealing with shipping lines or airlines to make a booking for freight. And the fourth component being the shipment documentation. And they all have to come together for you to do an end-to-end integrated system and also integrated process. And that's what our system does. We interface to the various regulatory authorities, the various agencies I mentioned. We link to the shipping lines and airlines to do booking requests, booking confirmations, so you can book space on a ship or air freight. And similarly, the documentation required, the commercial documents required to accompany the goods. So interfacing, and in addition to some of the mid-sized to bigger companies, they have their own internal ERP, warehouse management, transport management systems, inventory accounting systems. So our system can also interface to those internal systems, so that the order details just flows through into our system, produces all those documents and compliance requirements are met. And then you can get the goods out faster, documents out faster to the bank or to the buyer, and get paid faster. Typically in a manual process, all this is done manually. You have to do manual checks, manual reviews of documents, enter the data, the similar data at multiple places. Chances of errors are higher, and checking increases. And that's why your time to produce the documents increases. But in an integrated system, you can imagine it's really very straightforward, straight through processing if you get the initial information right.
I think that's what's really unique, Manish, is that your expertise and even the brand itself, obviously ImpexDocs, is all around international trade documentation. There's a whole range of fantastic service providers, and we'll be talking to more of them today in the IT field. but this is your bread and butter. You don't do anything else apart from documentation, and it's a really important thing to point out, because a lot of IT companies can talk to those WMS, TMS, or the ERP systems and create APIs, if you like, or some sort of interfaces. But your platform is just documentation, just around making sure that from an exporter point of view or trade perspective. And I understand you also work with carriers and freight forwarders as well, so they can have the benefits on their side of the fence as well. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. We have customers in every industry vertical, shippers, end users, end cargo owners, exporters, or also freight forwarders who in turn offer a value-added service to their customers. So bookings and compliance. A lot of forwarders tend to do this themselves and offer a service to their clients.
Yeah.
What we have seen is that we can bring down an efficiency gain of close to 40% to our clients in terms of the transaction time and
Wow.
cost.
Yeah, that's huge. 40% efficiency increase. That's amazing. So one of the other things is on the other side of the fence, if you like, as an Australian importer. What I find is I speak, as you know, with so many trade bodies and trade agencies with consul generals and so forth. A lot of companies don't realise that most of the consuls get statistical data from Border Force. When their shipments have been rejected for inaccuracy, they'll give them the reasons. And one of the number one reasons for products coming into Australia being held or delayed or rejected is inaccurate data. So as an importer as well, they can work with you because you're cloud-based. You can actually provide your solutions to their suppliers overseas too, right? And therefore, they can make sure that the stuff that's coming in isn't going to get delayed. You're not going to pay extra storage, and you can also make sure that seamless transition through the border force and quarantine and so forth.
Absolutely. So not only preparation of documents, but we also have client portals. Client portals are where the importer can log in and see the documents, approve the documents, or see a draft set of documents before they are finalized and before it gets to them via the bank.
Yeah.
That allows them to give a quick check and also give some feedback on what their requirements are to ensure that the goods do not have issues on their side when the goods reach them, and they are cleared quickly and correctly.
Yeah.
So we obviously are now extending the footprint of a solution beyond Australia to our clients and becoming a multi-partner environment where partners or clients can log into their side of things and get involved in the documentation creation process.
Well,
ultimately, it's a collaborative effort, you see. Yeah.
That's going to be increasingly important, Manish, as we know, and we've discussed ourselves. As Australian companies diversify their supply base, they'll be looking at new markets, new suppliers, they're going to be building new relationships. So when they can put in place new strategies and process structures that will help doing business with them in an easier, more efficient and more accurate way, it's definitely going to be a huge benefit. I know that we've got to wrap up today's interview, but I'm really looking forward to collaborating with you and the team at ImpexDocs. We've discussed putting on a specific webinar in the coming weeks and months around this topic, and we can do some demonstrations. So I'm really looking forward to that, Manish, and working with you more. Thanks so much for joining this morning. As I said, the timeliness has really come to the fore with the barley, the meat abattoirs, and all that is hooked on supposed documentation issues. But supposedly. But looking forward to staying in touch. And if anyone wants to reach out, it's just impexdocs.com.au to check out the website as well.
Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you for having us on the show. It was a pleasure. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. That was Manish from ImpexDocs. Now we're just going to have a very short break, and we're joined again by Steve Kelly from Starboard IT straight after this. Stick around. We'll see you soon.
Introducing Ticker Sport.
Mate, how exciting is it to kick off Ticker Sport?
Mate, I'm as pumped as you, which is pretty pumped. We're here to talk sport, business, there's a market, there's a niche.
It's David Davidovich and Adrian Franklin tackling the biggest issues.
Mate, we're talking sport, but we're talking business as well. And as you know, right now, there is no more important time. The world has changed and we are here to react.
Where nothing's off limits.
This is unprecedented. We've never seen sport ground to a halt like it has. Sport's heading in a completely different direction, and we will be at the forefront.
Every Friday, live on Ticker and on demand via the Ticker apps. There are now more ways to watch Ticker. Download our apps for Apple and Android devices.